Hi, my name is Jill Keiser, and I'm the operations manager here with the Chicago Lights Elam Davies Social Service Center here at Fourth Presbyterian Church. You have people who've been homeless for a while, you have people who are newly homeless, you have people who are working that are also homeless. In fact, statistics show that if you're in a large enough workforce area in a company of 50 people or more, 9 times out of 10, 2 people that are working side by side with you are homeless. You may not be aware of it. You may not look at them as a typical homeless person that you're used to seeing out there on the streets with that, but they are in fact homeless. In fact, I think it's harder for most Americans nowadays because many people who've never experienced this are now they're hungry, they have no roof over their head, they only have the clothes on their back, which is not something that most Americans have had to deal with in their lifetime with that. Most of these people that are homeless are isolated, they're cut off. The world just passes them by, literally. And if everybody just did one thing in America, volunteered for an hour, a day, a week, a month, gave a little bit of time, most of the problems that would be out there would be taken care of. In fact, now America is trying to become more volunteer-driven because that's what's going to need to be done in order to get everything out there to the people who are in need. You know, that's what it's all about. It's the small successes, you know, seeing people that genuinely want to move ahead. And not that everybody does the first time around. You know, it's scary. It's the known is familiar, so it's safe. It's not going to be an overnight thing. It may not be the first time. You know, we schedule appointments for people to come in to help them get housed. They may not show up the first 12 times. But then when they do come back, that means they're ready to at least look at some changes with that. I remember going hungry when my dad was laid off from jobs because he would refuse to go get food stamps until finally my mom was, there's no food on the table. I'm not going to have my kids go hungry. You go down there, you get in line, and you get those food stamps. Because it was back then that my mom couldn't have gone because my dad was the male of the household. He had to go get them. Even though she worked a full-time job all our lives, and probably was more consistent, never got laid off, because she worked at banks. Being hungry and sitting down to the kitchen table, and we had a bag of Fritos. And that's what we had that weekend. And I remember divvying them up. My mom would divide it up between my sister and myself. And she was 7 years younger than I was. And I was probably in 2nd grade, so I didn't understand why there wasn't food on, you know, in the cabinets, that Mom wasn't cooking as she always did when she came home from work, you know, because it wasn't her payday, so we didn't have anything. My dad was laid off. And it was just, you know, because I was like, well, here's some for you, Mom. She's like, no, she wouldn't take any of it. She said, it's for you. And I really think that over the years, it was like an ingrained fear. It was almost ingrown from that point that, wow, there could be a time where we wouldn't have food. I couldn't understand that either. You know, there was an explanation, but it was like, gosh. And I knew my mom was going hungry so that we had something to eat that weekend. And it was just kind of a fearfulness that, you know, wow, this could really happen. You know, so I just remember that, you know, so every meal I sat down after that it was like I made sure I ate till I was full, because I realize now as an adult thinking, you know, we might not have food again sometime with that. And so, you know, as I grew up and I gained weight, and, you know, I can think back now saying, you know, that probably was the beginning for me of overeating with that. Yeah. Being a parent and not even most of the time being able to give your children just the basics as they're growing. I mean, I just can't even tell you, you know, how painful and gut-wrenching it is. I mean, you're basically a failure. Back then, I had $44 a month to feed a family of 3. So I didn't buy junk food. I didn't buy cookies or candies or pop or anything such as that. And people still looked at me. So, you know, I couldn't imagine with people shop nowadays. And it's hard, you know, when you can't give your child anything and they ask for a small bag of chips or a candy bar or that. You know, it's very hard when people can give things. Maybe they don't give that to their child, but maybe they can give their child, you know, a new article of clothing or some other such treat, you know, as maybe a Happy Meal every once in a while at McDonald's, where you can't do that. You can't take your food stamps there. You can't give your child that. So, you know, it's just really hard to make a happy balance with that.
Like, what is your personal goal when you give people food or clothing? Or...
I think it's to try to lessen the burden, because I know the fear, the anxiousness, the worry that they have. You know, even if it's just at that moment, if it hasn't happened before, or if they've on some sort of limited income and they've been like this, it's still there. You know, it's still that, you know, I can't think, oh, gee, you know, I'm going to go out and get fresh fruit every day, because they're not able to with that. You know, or think, well, gee, you know, if I get some extra money, this is what I'll do. 9 times out of 10, that's the one thing you cut first, is your food consumption, or the quality of what you get, or the amount that you get, unfortunately. So I have to go do the bag lunch program.
Yes, I will